All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:32. It is April 22nd. It is Tuesday. I hope everyone's feeling well. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. I am the founder of Red Dog Mindset. Here we are. Woke up this morning, drank my big glass of water, got ready for my 20 to 5:20. I looked around what was happening around the world. Europe down a little bit, Asia down a little bit. I'm like, the futures are up 50 handles. I'm like, it kind of feels like that other day last week where we broke a level, we hit, some mapped out support, came off the lows, and then opened up the next day and kind of faded and hung out. And just the charts are building. Sometimes it's just a day in the life, and you need to make the right decision in the right spot, long or short. You can't get too bearish, or you have to be a very committed bear. And now you're short yesterday. It didn't really cover because you thought we were going to test lows, and now we're up 5 points, and you have to add to it and trade around it. Or you could pick your spots and navigate your sizing or be in a lot of cash. There's so many ways to do it. You just got to pick and choose how you're going to do it and try and have success at it, right? So yesterday, 24 hours ago, I was like, hey guys, if we break, 520, we could see, a move towards 509. The reason why we said that is because, or 510 or somewhere around here, is because of this area. This low here was 509.58. So yesterday went to 508.46, went $1 below. So if you got out of the way early in the morning, because we broke 520, came back, retested, couldn't get back above it, and then it was a short all day. The odd thing that I think I'm talking about with some of the guys from the Alpha team, by the way, the Alpha team is a team of traders that trade that typically all trade for a living, that you could join if you wanted to. Usually 500 are on there all day long. Was the time of day that the market decides to just change, right? So you have to look for that. Like, we were weak all day, and then finally, if you just take a quick look at the SPYs here, the market decided at right here in this candle, though, at 3 o'clock, that it changed. So you had this downtrend all day, right? And then all of a sudden here around, whatever time that was, you can even say it was, done a little bit sooner. It decided to have a big wide range candle that engulfed these four, then held in there, and then the market just rallied back to 515, just like, not like nothing. And then if you said, hey, I covered into, the 509, 510 area because that was the target, and then you waited and then got short, now all of a sudden, you're like, all right, now I'm losing money down, because I shorted the move, which was kind of felt like a little bit like the right thing to do, except for we were down 5 days in a row, and now you have to trade around it. So I think the moral of the story is you just got to take trades and not feel like you're missing anything. Overall, this time period with the tariffs, this time period of, PE constriction, this time period of just where we're in, it's going to go for a while. So you just have to be very careful on the names you're looking at, the areas that you want to take your trades, and not do anything in no man's land. Because if you started trying to buy it like 515, chances are you didn't make it down towards 509. If you waited till 509 half, what'd you do? You had a point of pain because that was the spot. So I'm just saying, like, in no man's land, you're not going to stick with trade. So for today, I'm thinking that, hey, the market's still kind of broken. I won't be chasing this. I won't be buying this up open. But if you start shorting 518.60 or 519, you got to know that the market might want to test this 521.70, which is yesterday's high. It might even want to fill this gap to 524. So if you start shorting at 519, you better start small and give yourself more room. So you got to play like zone defense and zone offense. It's not like a one price point, because they love to the computers want to push you through a price point and steal your lunch and get you out. So anyway, we're up 485. Some people are like, Red Dog, why are we up? I don't know. All I know is that we were down 13 points in the SPY. So up 5 is just a normal retracement. It's just range management. If you look here, the SPYs were 544 on April 14th. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions ago. So down here, a little bit oversold, not a ton. So now we could easily pop back towards this area, put another lower high, and then continue down. And look how long this whole thing took. So it's just a day in the life of the trade, and so here we are. I will say, like, obviously gold has just been crazy to the upside. People at this point are, to be honest, I think there are traders out there taking the other side of the trade. And at this point, this is turning into a pain trade. I hate pain trades. I don't make fun of anyone in pain trades because I've been in a pain trade before, and it's painful. What does a pain trade mean? So, some trend gets so extended to one way that everyone who was long it, like maybe you were long gold down here, or maybe you were long gold at 272, or maybe when we were really hyper focused on gold to start the year, down here you had massive size and you stopped. Like, I think I traded this move really well back in the beginning of the year, and I think I was done with it from 225. I thought I did a great job to 257, and I think maybe I went at it one more time, but then somewhere stopped. So I missed this whole part of it, but I'm fine with it. I'm not a gold bug. I got away from it. I made money in crypto and other things. But anyway, here you are. Gold is up, another 3. I think, it's definitely extended, but there are traders out there that are fading this move, saying gold can't go up anymore. Who are you to say that gold can't go up anymore? Yes, there's Bollinger Bands. You're outside the band. It's the RSI is this, and there's some reasons to say, hey, I don't want to buy it up here because it's an accident waiting to happen. But you can't just fade it if you don't have the wherewithal to stay with it. And sometimes it's better off just waiting for a signal, and which there were. Like, if you look here, what was the signal? Okay, right here, you had this doji. So this spot is, I think, where people started to short gold again, saying, hey, look at this doji, look how extended it is. It came in, and then, right here, it kind of told you it's not, it's not falling apart, anyway. And then here, you had another one where it kind of did a red dog reversal, and this didn't give you any signal that it's, it's cooked, right? It gapped up, held most of the gains. But again, at this point, you can't be buying gold up here if you're active. And if you do have it on as an asset allocation, you have like your equities, your credit, your gold and silver or Bitcoin, definitely I would be reducing. I don't know how high it's going to go. It definitely feels like it's getting a little parabolic. That's my thoughts there. But don't fight it. Don't, just because you sold it early, get short. I am in a lot of Bitcoin. For me, I kind of think that Bitcoin has a nice chart. It feels like it's going to play catch up, and I liked how it's just starting to go a little bit. I have options on. I have IBIT on. It started to get better here. Okay, so as the market came in, it did not fall down. It kind of decoupled. So to me, this was it was just a good spot to. I did add a few IBIT calls a week or two ago that didn't work, but yesterday they worked really well. And I rolled some higher. Where do I think it can go? I think it can go to 95 to 98. We'll see if it gets above this spot. This was a nice pattern. I like to look for nice patterns. There's really no nice patterns in tech. There's really no nice patterns in mega cap. So Bitcoin was a nice pattern. After the move that gold had, I figured some people take money, make book trades there, and say, hey, maybe Bitcoin could go after this move. It had a move to 108, came in, cleared this downtrend, went sideways. It's back above the moving averages. It has room. So that's why I like Bitcoin, not because, I'm some guy in Puerto Rico and, not that book guys in Puerto Rico like Bitcoin, but there are a bunch of guys that trade crypto in Puerto Rico. I have a bunch of friends there. So if you're watching that, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just, whatever. Anyway, so that looks good. So my thought today is I trim a little bit of IBIT. I'll trim a little bit of my options. I might even buy a tiny bit more. I don't remember the last time I've been able to buy through a level and then sell it higher, especially in tech. But it's looking pretty good. So anyway, that's Bitcoin. So I wouldn't chase gold. Doesn't mean you short it. And I do think that you could try and stay with this Bitcoin move. It's starting to act better. So yesterday it was up while the market was down, and today the market's up, and it's kind of up again. So that's good. That means, it was able to go up while the market was going down, and it's not being sold off just because the market's up as like a contrarian trade. So anyway, that's a good thing. That I made money yesterday while the market was hurt, and I'm not long a ton of things, but this is helping. So some people like Red Dog, what do we do here with the spies like this? Are we going to complete this, this V? Is it going to be a real W? We're going to get down here. I'm like, I don't know. Like what are you doing with your long-term stuff? I was on the Spaces yesterday. We were talking about long-term stuff. My 401k at T3, because I am the chief strategic officer and founder, I do have a 401k there. Every month I'm just putting money in. I don't look at it. The blood in the street kind of already put 2 of my 4 tiers in, and I already own this area. So there's nothing I could do there. The only way I could add is if we were to go lower, and we haven't. As far as trading is concerned, I'm just picking and choosing spots. Some people ask me about Tesla. Am I going to be long Tesla options? I don't think so. Like here, let's go to the weekly chart. I did the weekly chart yesterday. To me, obviously, you look at the weekly chart, and it has come in a lot. It's right back down to some support. But I don't have FOMO here. I feel like, the business of Tesla has deteriorated a little bit. The last 2 calls, he spoke a lot about the robo-taxi, about AI and robotics, and I just feel like the market's not really in the mood to hear that, where that's going to spur some crazy rally. I think people are tired. They're tired of what Elon has been doing, and I think they'd like to hear him say, maybe what could have a rally is if he says he's, I'm done with Doge by the end of April, and I'm coming back, and I'm going to focus on Tesla. That would probably cause a nice oversold bounce. But overall, I feel like he's kind of tired himself, and I don't know if he's ready to leave Doge or whatever it is. And so if all of a sudden it shows deterioration, which there has been in Europe and the U.S. and in the whole EV market, and it's not, and he has to, and they can't get parts for the robotaxis. It's like, I think it's vulnerable here. So I don't feel like risking 10 grand to make 40, or risk 15 to make 50, or risk 3 to make 10. If anything, this area is going to be very important. Does it hold 214 to 222? If not, it could see the 160s. And then if it were to open, like, remember last time I took a big option play, I felt like everyone was so bearish right here. I think this is where I did, a nice call spread, and it worked really well. And then this was the election move. I just don't feel like doing that. I might trade it after. Like, if you remember Netflix, everyone was like, Red Dog, this is the strongest stock out there. We should be taking calls, or call spread this and that. I'm like, guys, if we were to take a 1,000 by 1,060 call spread, it would cost us like 15 to make 35. And if you took it, chances are they've already sucked all the premium out. Stock was up 35 points and you lost money. Instead, traded it after hours through 990 through this area, made some really good money, and now I'm just using it as a barometer. So I really just not in the mood to be taking all these options into earnings. Like last quarter, it was a tough one for that. So anyway, for Tesla, later this afternoon, I'll come up with a plan. This 262, I guess you could say, is pretty big resistance. So if it were to, if he were to say he's leaving, maybe there's room up to towards 262, and then this is 274, and then this is where it just was, which is where the downtrend is. So if you wanted to take a call spread, let's see, where's Tesla this morning? Hold on. Tesla is up $1. He's at 230. I guess maybe you want to take maybe a 240 by 262 call spread. So if you feel like you'll be missing something, and from 488 down, a 240 by 260 call spread probably won't cost you so much. And it's Tuesday, so you have time till the end of the week. Or maybe you do a 240 by 275 call spread if you think that it can go higher. So this way, if you're wrong, your risk is premium paid. If they miss and he doesn't say he's leaving Doge and the stock breaks 214 to 218, you're losing, your risk is premium paid. So you're trying to make a 3x to have a 0, or just trade it after. Anyway, let me say hello to some of my dogs around the world. Everybody's chiming in. This is the beauty of the 630 Club. People give me some, first they say good morning. It's always good to be polite. And then we talk about some of the ideas that they're talking about. So anyway, with volatility as high as it is, it's hard to find difficult to make money. That's true, but there is money out there. I know briefing says Tesla's earnings say we're just talking about Happy Earth Day. Hey, I was in my ice barrel today and I was listening to the birds sing. I respect nature. Dunk says 2 billion to 1.5 billion down one is laughable. So let's see. IBIT looks great. Thank you. That's so far so good. Good morning, traders from NOLA. Okay, NOLA. Where's NOLA? Space Special is very consistent. Says hi. How high will the dead count bounce go? Okay, I think that's a good question. Does feel like a little bit of a dead cat. So I tried to map out an area. I would think if we pushed up towards 520 in the first 15, 30 minutes, I probably would be, I'll probably be shorting into this. Same way, if you remember when we broke this 533, we came in, and then I think we talked about fading that move on Thursday, which was a decent fade and then a decent long, and then it just ran out of gas. So I do think this area is probably a spot to fade if we see it. So right now the SPYs, like I said before, the SPYs are, what are the SPYs doing? SPYs are, up 520 to 519. I think if you get a push to 520, you might have to deal with a little bit. I do think in the first 30 minutes, that's a fadeable spot. If you want to look at the Qs for the same thing, Qs, from 467 to 465 to 452, broke below 432 at 427, came up. I would think 437 to 441 would be a spot to fade if we saw it fast. Where are the Qs right now? The Qs are, this is the beginning of the area. So let's put this over here. So 437.50 is kind of where we were yesterday. They could fill that gap up to 441. So I would think that's your zone that you probably want to fade first. But then again, it's gotten up to the 8-day. So, but if we were down versus yesterday's low, it would be a lot more interesting for those who are really good at shorting things, who you may be a short overnight. I would say, it's closer to 441, I think would be a little bit more forgiving, to fade. Let's see, Buongiorno from Florence, Italy. No, New Orleans. There you go. I didn't know that. What's up, MLD? How you doing? What up, Austin? Hi. You'll get paid at 7 a.m. today. What are you getting paid for, Kenny? You went long. NOW earnings is today. I could take a look at that. ServiceNow. Nothing's really going on here. These are all prior. We used to play ServiceNow a lot while it was trending higher. This is, recent support. I don't know. I'm not going to play ServiceNow, but it's good to know. It's got some room up towards 800 if it wants it. This is the downtrend. A little higher low. This is your area. This is a lot of resistance above. I like that CEO. I like the CEO of ServiceNow. He's a very stock-friendly CEO, very good energy. Shows that, could be done. I think he's a little blind also. So he's a winner. Right, let's see. Fidelity opens Primo. Oh, okay. Palantir. All right, so Palantir is good. Palantir is interesting. It's one of those names that are still trying to hold up. It's one of those names like yesterday. Yesterday I came in and I bought Palantir down 40 cents and went up $1, and I made really good money in the first 7 minutes, and then I didn't trade it again. The old Red Dog would have tried it a few more times and given back half the money I made in that trade. The new Red Dog said, you know what? We're weak. People are going to try it. Then the sellers happen. I'm like, I made my money there. I'm moving on. So anyway, that was yesterday. Now, what about today? Let's go to Palantir. Palantir is probably up like $1.50. All right, hey, look at that, up $1.50. It's at 92 and change. It's still trying to be better. When Palantir finally they let it go and it starts making higher highs, you'll know that maybe people are thinking the market's not going to have that much pressure on it. But as long as the market's going to have pressure on it, these names that have been stronger are not going to, no one's going to be in a rush to pay up. So you still have this like 89-ish area. Would I be fading this up open? Probably not, but would I be buying it? No, this should be up on your go-to list. This is a better acting name. Dash was one of those too, and then Dash broke yesterday. Dash broke this inside wedge. Like I said before, the strong names can only last so long. If we're going to go back and retest those April lows, not saying we will, but we might. Nobody needs to be, so big in Dash here. So it broke below. So now you could say, what was yesterday's low? Yesterday's low was 168.96. It's not really a great setup. It's up $2. It can go a little bit more, but it's just still rebuilding. Dash will tell you, like a Palantir, that the market's acting better when they finally start letting it go a little bit. What's up, Jack? Go to no, I know. Oh, the Jackson Square Festival. I really can't go anywhere right now. Chase is in the middle of AU basketball season. We have a lot of decisions to make. I'm going this weekend. I'm going to be in Sportica. Next weekend, I'm going to be in Atlantic City. The weekend after that, I'm going to be in Spooky Nook. So those are my big trips. But I like it. It's awesome. I wouldn't trade it. So ACTS Axwell. What? Almost in the same path. Which one? AB's asked me. ACTS Act. Oh, ASTS. Yes, ASTS also, kind of broke a little bit below, but overall, I think there's a lot of money behind this, and at some point, it's going to act better. At some point, it'll get going when the market wants to have some kind of risk, and right now the market's just not paying, for innovation down the road. So they're accumulating it, but it's just not ready to go. I would keep an eye on this for better times. Morning, Scott. Thoughts on? I kind of did that already, Joe, but I'll do it one more time for you, since I know you for a long time. I am long IBIT. So what I did is I had a lot of $50 calls. So into the first move in the morning yesterday, I trimmed about half of my calls into this move to 50-40. Then when we pulled down, I said I'll buy the 51s and pay a little less just to continue, etc. So 50-42 is right here. This is 50-50. So what? Let's broaden this out a little bit. 50-50. I don't know if we could pay up. I haven't been able to pay up for anything in this market, but I'd love to be able to, if Bitcoin holds here, buy through 50-50 and trim on my way up to 51 and then back with what I have overnight. But that kind of trade just hasn't happened in a while. So let's look what's IBIT doing right now. It's up 66 cents. So typically what I would do is, like, just say I'm long 2,000 IBIT. I sell 500 into this gap open, so I net money. That's trading rule number one. If we hang here and trade through this spot, maybe I'll add. I might add. And then think about there's a void up towards 53, and then trim on the way up. Maybe trim some options. And I do think why can't we see 53-ish in the IBIT? It just started to go, just started to decouple. It was down yesterday. It was up yesterday in the down tape, and now the futures are up and it's up. So I like those properties. Mr. wasn't great yesterday. I thought it could have been better, but again, Mr. kind of is a no man's land. It's just the valuation is odd. Some people love it. Some people hate it. It's probably up today. I would say $6. I haven't looked at it yet. Mr. Where's Mr.? Mr. is up. $6. Red Dog. Look at the experience. Anyway, 324. Where to get to yesterday? Let's see. Mr. yesterday got to 330. So it's got some room. So 330. No, it's 339 or 330. What do I just say here? This is 330.99. 330. So yeah, if you wanted something that has a little bit of juice, but it has a little volatility, here's Mr. Here's 343. I would just, out of all of them, Mr. to me seems like, the only one that's still really going with crypto. The miners like a Mara and a Riot and a Wolf, those just aren't moving well. If you wanted to look at something besides a Mr., I guess GME seems like a good setup here. You have a bit of a bull flag. I tried it yesterday. It didn't work. I lost a little bit of money on it. I think if Bitcoin really starts to get better traction, then maybe this has a better move. What's GME doing today, this morning? I bet you it's up 60 cents. Let's see. GME is up 2 cents. I was wrong. So people, they've done so many offerings and so many burnt people in GME that it's just, it's going to really take, I think, a really exciting move in IBIT to squeeze the shorts, get people in. But technically, if you want it to be long, you can be long versus 25.70, gets above 27.40, then that's your next level. But you'll probably need IBIT to be above 50 on its way to 51 to really get GME excited, because they are buying Bitcoin, and Mr. has some room to there. Holy sugar honey, I see it 6:57, and I'm only allowed to do this for 20 minutes. Listen, guys, if you've been tuning into the 6:30 Club since 2020 and you're finding value, I would suggest you join the subscription button for Red Dog Mindset. At some point in this year, I'm not saying when, we might roll it out into a product, and you'll probably be paying a lot more than you would be for $10, 20 to 520, which is the workout, which is the whiteboard weekends. It's everything. You could be getting it for $10. Not so bad. But anyway, hey, Scott, what platform do I trade on? Trade on Sterling. I use Sterling, and I have Sterling Pro for options. Anyway, good luck today. I wouldn't chase this up open. We're going to map out resistance, figure out where maybe you could fade a little bit, listen up for news. Everything's going great. Tweets aren't really working. It's, hey, are we signing some deals? I'll talk to you later.